the old infirmary was built in 1783, and it was built by a very generous donation from a lady by the name of Mrs. Walcott. And she was a sister of the Lord Chief Justice Caulfield of Dunamon. The original building was a very simple limestone building, which was 3 stories over a basement with a slated roof, and windows were also limestone dressed. Sometime after 1832, 2 symmetrical pavilions were built. The one on the right-hand side, as you look at the building, was used as a physician's residence. And there's stone steps up to that and a dressed doorway. There's a very interesting story which was written up by Isaac Weld, who wrote the Statistical Survey of Roscommon, published in 1832. He tells the story of a servant who had some plastic surgery. He needed some plastic surgery on his nose, and the local surgeon at the time, who was a Dr. Lycett, cut a triangle of skin from his forehead, left it attached, and then covered his nose with this piece of skin, which he had sutured on both sides, and apparently it was very successful. So that was very early plastic surgery carried out here in Roscommon. The tower was built sometime after 1885. It was a water tower. Then in 1902, John Gilbert King, who actually lived in Offaly, Kings County as it was at the time, but he had some land in Roscommon, and so he provided money for a refurbishment, and the operating theatre, which was built at the back of the building, on the ground floor, so a semicircular operating theatre, and that had 2 stained glass doors commemorating the money that he had spent. The Latin inscription on the stained glass window says "Spes tutissima caelis," which means "Our best hope lies in heaven." Also in 1928, the late 1920s, 28-29, again with money donated by a generous benefactor, Edward Dillon, electricity was then brought into the building. The new hospital on the Athlone Road was finished in 1941. At that time, then they were making plans to move from the infirmary to the new hospital. It was during the war, an emergency time, and the then surgeon, Mr. O'Hanrahan, was afraid that the Army would take over the new hospital before he had time to move in. So he literally moved his patients overnight, and that was in 1941. So the infirmary then was vacant, and it was used by the All-Ireland winning Roscommon teams of 1943 and 44. They used it as perhaps a base to develop a team spirit, to get the team together. The County Library headquarters and branch moved here in 1948. At the time, the county librarian mentioned that it was very ill ventilated and cramped. However, it was another 40 years before there was any major renovation carried out. It was finally opened to the public in September 1990. So we now have the library headquarters and branch housed in this beautiful building, which was originally built in 1783.